iStock Audio.
Hello, my name is John Golden, President and CEO of Huthwaite. About 8 months ago, we released a documentary called The End of Sales and Marketing as We Know It, talking about the impact that social media and the changes in buyer behavior was having on how people sold in the business-to-business space. Even in 8 months, things have moved on significantly. For instance, social selling, it's no longer a concept or a theory, it's actually a reality. We have many instances of people who've started and completed sales cycles purely using social media as the vehicle for communication with their customer. The other thing that's changed dramatically is that marketing can no longer take a backseat approach to the sales process and have to become intimately involved, because a lot of the engagement between the business-to-business buyer and the organization or vendor they're buying from is actually facilitated through marketing. And whether marketing like it or not, marketing have to get engaged, and they have to actually start to use some of the tactics and skills of traditional salespeople in order to do that. So in essence, they now have to go further and further into the sales cycle than they've ever had to do before. One of the biggest things that's really come to the forefront since we did the documentary is the amount of skill a salesperson needs has actually increased almost exponentially. And that almost seems counterintuitive if you think that an empowered buyer can get lots and lots of information and go 60 or 65% their way through the sales process before they ever engage with the salesperson. But the reality is, when they do engage with that salesperson, they expect the salesperson to have done their homework, and they expect the salesperson to understand everything about their business, about what's happening in their business segment, what's happening in the market, and to be able to bring some value to that interaction. If you can't do this, then you can't create credibility and go deep with the buyer very quickly. But just as marketing people have to adopt some of the skills and tactics of salespeople, so too do salespeople have to adopt some of the skills and tactics of marketing people if they're going to be successful in this buyer-empowered world. So salespeople have to really become proficient at what we call micro-marketing. They need to be able to use all of these new channels and vehicles for interacting with the customer, but do so in a way that gently, efficiently, and elegantly engages the buyer into a conversation. But educate yourself, and only when you have something of value to add do you engage at that point. So the whole world is changing, and it's changing so rapidly out there that if we continue to constrain ourselves by very narrowly defined demarcations between marketing and sales, if we don't realize that a salesperson investing time in listening and reading and understanding what's happening on professional networking groups, if we see that as them wasting their time when they could be dialing for dollars or out, attending networking events or whatever, then we're missing the point. We're missing the point that our audience, our buyers, they've moved to these venues and we have to engage them there. We've got to give space to the salesperson. We've got to help them to understand how to listen in a social media context, how to engage properly in a social media context with value, how to micro-market, how to message properly, how to give value without the immediate expectation of return. We've got to change the way our marketing department operates. And we've got to put aside these demarcations and these hard lines where we hand over, and these hard handoffs where a lead from marketing just is thrown over the wall into sales. We've got to be able to flex, continue to flex, and we've got to be able to have our marketing people go further into the sales process and give the buyer what the buyer wants, when they want it and how they want it. And then the salesperson has to be able to engage in this process at the right time, but be able to go deep fast because of their business acumen, their understanding of the buyer, their understanding of the buyer's industry, and their insatiable desire to bring business insight to the equation.
iStock.